In 2016, Disney shocked the gaming world with the announcement that they will close their gaming studios and will no longer produce video games. Dozens of beloved IPs were left untouched and no longer continued for gaming. But in a recent interview with GameIndustry.biz with Sean Shoptaw, Walt Disney's Games Senior Vice President, and Luigi Priori, Vice President of Disney and Pixar Games, we learned a lot about the new gaming philosophy at Disney. So today we discuss what we can expect from IPs like Avatar, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Indiana Jones. We will also have a look on what other IPs Disney teased and what we can expect from Disney in gaming over the course of the next months and years. Hello gamers from around the world, this is Archimedes, the video game enthusiast from Germany, with a discussion-inspiring video about Disney and their gaming IPs. In the aforementioned interview, Disney revealed quite some interesting things about some of the most beloved IPs, and I've linked the article in the description down below. But before we discuss Disney and gaming, I want to ask you for a favor. If you watch this video and end up enjoying yourself, then please consider to hit the like and subscribe button and maybe even turn on the notification bell to not miss out on future content. This doesn't cost you anything, but it helps my channel more than you think, and I would greatly appreciate your support. Okay, but now let's get to the topic at hand. Only a few weeks ago during E3 we got to see actually quite a lot of Disney gaming related announcements. Arguably one of the biggest Disney announcements was the reveal of the Avatar game by Ubisoft. I don't want to go into the quality of the Ubisoft press conference, but the announcement of the game was stunning. Not only did it look absolutely gorgeous, we also learned in a deep dive later about ray tracing and next-gen simulation and AI in the game. But that's a topic for another video. The thing to take away here is that this game is a AAA production from Ubisoft that tells a standalone story. Very similar to that was the announcement of the Pirates of the Caribbean tie-in with Sea of Thieves from Xbox. Pirates of the Caribbean is arguably one of the most beloved pirate IPs, and that got a tie-in with probably the most beloved pirate game ever made. A perfect mixture, because doing a Pirate of the Caribbean game on your own would mean you have to take on that big pirate IP. And this way both benefit, but it of course only works if the story is not tied to the movies. During E3 we also learned about the Guardians of the Galaxy game from Square Enix, and even though this got mixed receptions, it's another Disney IP that has a standalone story, not tied to the movies. And we've seen similar things over the course of the last years, like the Spider-Man and Miles Morales games on the PlayStation, or the Avengers game from 2020 by Square Enix, or Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order from EA in 2019. Disney has moved away from games that retell the story of a movie or series. Even though Disney has stopped making video games on their own, they have licensed out their IPs to bigger and smaller studios and letting them tell their own story, which definitely leaves more creativity for developers to not being tied to a certain story that works in a movie but is hard to tell in a game, or vice versa. Sean Shoptaw, Walt Disney's Games Senior Vice President, had to say the following on that. If we were out retelling films, TV shows and whatever, I think we would fall short on what the opportunity really is in this game space. So our focus has really been on things that really push our characters and stories to places they had never been pushed before. Still being authentic to who they are, but really being unique to this medium and hopefully delivering experiences in a way that hasn't been done before. So there you have it. We don't have to expect video games that just retell the story of a Disney movie. And to be absolutely honest with you, I really like that, because it is a different thing to tell a story for a video game than for a movie. And when we have a look at some of the announced IPs that are coming over the next years, like the aforementioned Avatar game or the Indiana Jones game that is developed by Machine Games with the support of one of the best video game creators ever, Todd Howard, or the story-focused open-world Star Wars game that is developed by Ubisoft, when we look at all these games, I'm glad that the developers get the creative freedom to tell their own story. The good thing about this new approach from Disney to source out their IPs to quality developers is that some of the most talented devs in the world get to touch some of the most creative IPs in the world. We all know that Disney is very protective of their franchises. Usually they have a very strict quality assurance, and so the discussion in the community came up about the quality in some of the games after the mixed reception of the Avengers game in 2020 2020 and the, well, let's call it a little underwhelming presentation of the Guardians of the Galaxy game that comes out this fall. But Sean Shepto explained that within Disney the Marvel IPs are still operating separately, so it's hard to tell if all of the above is valid for the Marvel IPs, but considering that Disney has been successful with that outsourcing process so far, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel will adopt. And the interview with Disney was quite interesting, that Luigi Priori, vice president of Disney and Pixar Games, specifically mentioned that Disney is not only looking for AAA studios to take over their IPs, they are also looking to smaller/indie studios. But let's hear from Priori himself. We are looking for the right creative teams, indie studios that have great creative execution and have interesting stories to tell. There are things that we want to do in different genres to deliver a different experience to audiences. So yes, those type of products are on our roadmap. We can't mention what we have moving forward right now, but we are being selective and not every great execution comes out of a AAA studio. And I'm very glad to hear that, because we have seen over the course of the last years that some indie games sometimes definitely show more creativity than big AAA productions, and that Disney is also giving indie studios the chance to work on well-known IPs is, in my opinion, something we should look forward to, and I can't wait to learn which indie studio takes on which IP. And speaking of IPs, they also talked a little bit about some of the IPs that we have not seen in video games that often recently. All the games that I mentioned before are more mature IPs, but what about Mickey and Co? We have seen them in the Kingdom Hearts games, but that's about it. Sean Shepto had to say the following on that. We love the original characters, Mickey and the crew. We think there is enormous opportunity and it's a very undeserved part of our portfolio today, especially on the console side. I think you'll start to see that there's a lot more to come. So when you combine that statement with the statement about the indie studios, my personal guess would be that we will see some of those classic Disney characters in indie games over the course of this generation. And the last thing that I want to talk about before I bring this video to an end is one of the most important new Disney business units, and that is Disney Plus. The streaming service is definitely one of the things for Disney to go forward, and with it they have introduced some new IPs that would be very well suited for video games, and I'm talking here of course about the obvious thing, and that is the Mandalorian. And when being asked about it, Walt Disney Senior Games Vice President Sean Shepto had to say the following: Disney Plus will play that role in addition to the film slate, with new or dormant IP that gets a new life. We are certainly paying close attention to things going on there, and we will look at the success that happens. Obviously, Mandalorian is a great example and how we can apply that to our business. And with that little teaser, I want to wrap this video up. When Disney decided to get out of the gaming business, they earned a lot of negative press, but over the course of the last years they have definitely done their IPs justice in gaming. We got some really cool Disney and Marvel games, and with a story-focused open-world single-player Avatar game coming in 2022, a new Star Wars game, open-world and story-focused, and an Indiana Jones game in the making, the outlook for Disney IPs in gaming has never been brighter. And I don't know about you, but knowing that they are also letting indie developers touch their IPs is something that has a lot of potential. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you want to support the channel even further, you can now become a channel member and get early access to my videos and custom made badges and emojis. And let me thank those who are already members. I'm truly humbled by your support. You are a big part in helping me taking this channel to the next level. And let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about the new Disney in gaming? Which games are you looking forward to the most? And besides here on YouTube, you can also hit me up on Twitter, where I share a lot of opinions and gaming discussions. But for now, thank you very much for watching, I see you the next time, and game on!